Inside Michigan Football is presented by Meyer.
Hi again, friends, and welcome to another edition of Inside Michigan Football. Doug Karsch alongside the captain, John Jansen. 24-13 the final here in Norman. Lots to work on as the Wolverines turn the corner and get ready for Central Michigan next Saturday.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning moments, and you could talk about the learning moments for Bryce, coachable moments, whether it's Donovan McCauley and the cross-up that they had, on that one penalty that was picked up. There's just a lot of things, protection-wise, offensively, that they could use on this film to get better.
So one of the recurring issues was third downs, and it was the first drive of the game where Oklahoma was looking at third and long. The one time they didn't convert a third down, they converted a fourth down. These are the money downs. These are the ones that make a difference. And Michigan's defense did a good job on first and second down. They got negative plays on Oklahoma's first drive. They just couldn't get off the field.
They did all the hard work, putting yourself in great position. And you would think on third down, especially if you're in third down 17 times, percentages are going to be for you. And a lot of those were 3rd and 7 plus. If you can't get off the field on those downs, one, it extends drives. That's the obvious. But it's also disheartening. And over the course of a game, it becomes, it's like compounding interest. It's that snowball that just keeps rolling downhill.
And a big problem on third down was how effective John Mateer was the entire game. We were told he was a dual threat quarterback coming in, and he certainly showed that capability on Saturday night.
And when you have that dual threat quarterback, some of what happens with the defensive linemen is they become a little bit tentative. They don't want to overplay, like I had talked about on the touchdown that he had. You overplay, and all of a sudden you open up an angle. But if you don't play hard enough and they hand the ball off to one of the running backs, now you're getting blown off the ball.
So the first drive of the ball game, it was third down conversions. The last drive of the first half, it was wide receivers running wide open for Oklahoma.
Yeah, when you have the talented receivers that they have, those three guys led by Burks, who we knew was a threat coming into this game, along with the tight end, along with the quarterback run, it becomes very difficult if you don't take something away.
Burks, Satania, and Lewis, they're all really, really good. They tested the Michigan secondary all night long. Oklahoma led it 14-0 after that last drive in the first half. The Michigan pass rush, I'm not going to say it was non-existent because it was there. They just had trouble getting Mateer on the ground.
Yeah, and I mean, Jason Avant said this during the broadcast. When you're a safety, and whether it's Mason Curtis or TJ Metcalf coming in, you've got to break down on a quarterback like that. You just can't take your swings. You got to know your opponent. And when you take your swing, you let him out of a situation that you think is a sack, he's going to continue to make plays, whether it's with his feet, and we saw it at times where he's making the play downfield.
Sherrone Moore famous for saying smash when it comes to offensive line play and getting the run game going. They tried to establish the run. Let's show an example with Jansen Vision, some of the struggles Michigan was having on the ground game.
Yeah, and I hate to do this, but I want to highlight Brady Norton here, and it's just in regards to what it takes to be successful in the run game, because even if you just take a bad angle, which he does, there's a double team here. What you have to do is you have to be as tight as possible off of their backside so that when you come up on this linebacker, who's going to be this guy, he can't leak in. You don't want any leakage. Leakage is always bad. And so as we break it down here, just got to be a little bit tighter off that double team so that you could square up on that backer. And he doesn't. He comes in, and now all of a sudden, instead of a 5 or 6 yard gain, you got to run for no gain.
Michigan showed a new look in this game with bonus offensive linemen using 7 offensive linemen. It was effective later, and we'll get to that coming up. The other thing was Oklahoma actually helped Michigan's offense with some bad penalties.
They did, and I mean, kind of both defenses really did that with penalties. And if you can't capitalize on those, if you get a face mask and you get an automatic first down, you've got to find ways to get points, and Michigan just couldn't.
Passing game had its struggles too. Seemed like out of sync a little bit. And I mean, look, quarterbacks and receivers talk about reps together. Bryce Underwood's been here since January, but you could see at times maybe the reps and the experience aren't there yet.
Some of it was youth, some of it was inexperience, some of it's chemistry, but I think the number one contributor was Brent Venables. Changing up looks, giving various looks. There were times where he had 6 or 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, he brought them all. Other times, same look, he drops them, and it changes the coverage as well. So it's a lot of things for Bryce to be looking at.
Credit Oklahoma's defense, though. That's a veteran group, and boy, did they hit hard.
Yeah, they did. And they did a good job of open field tackling. They did a good job of covering receivers downfield, and they did a good job of confusing the offense, not just Bryce.
Looked bleak at halftime, but the Wolverines got it going with some more offense in the second half right out of the gate. We'll take a look at that, and also later here on Inside Michigan Football, we'll hear from the head coach, Sharon Moore. Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meijer, presenting sponsor of the 2025 Michigan football season, and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Michigan Medicine. There's a difference between an answer and a Michigan answer. To find your Michigan answer, visit michigananswers.com.
Hand off to Haynes, cutting back. Justice Haynes running downhill. 40, 50, 40. He's in the clear. 30, 20, down the near sidelines. 75 yards. Touchdown, Michigan on the first play of the second half. A lightning bolt.
I noticed as soon as we called the play, I knew it was going to be a good play. Coach Lindsey called a great play. My offensive line blocked great. Tight ends blocked great. Receivers blocked great. Just ran to green grass.
Welcome back to Inside Michigan Football. All right, Michigan trailed at 14-0 at the half. You always look for halftime adjustments, and the Wolverines came out. We'll go right to Jansen Vision on the first play of the second half.
And they went big up front. They obviously, you look at this and you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 offensive linemen. So you're probably going to run the ball. But I want to highlight this. This ball starts this way and it cuts back. And the reason it can cut back and the reason the hole is so big is I want you to watch Hattar here. He does a nice job of staying square, and he gets up on the linebacker and he stays on his front side number. I also want you to watch Blake Frazier here. All he has to do is wall off this defender, but as this defender comes up here, now you want to do the same thing. It's about that inside number. If you do that, now they can't retrace their steps, and as this play goes, boom, he's going to be right up there, and now Blake, you see his helmet right here? He's on the inside number, and there's a huge hole in here that Justice does a great job of cutting the ball back, great vision by him, and then it's just simply off to the races.
Off to the races, he outran the defensive backs to the end zone. A lightning bolt to get Michigan back into this football game. All right, let's look at the Michigan defense, who responded with a 3-and-out, and they got some pass rush going, and the return of Jayshawn Barham in the second half helped.
Yeah, and this is what Jayshawn allows Wink to do. You've got him lined up almost as an edge rusher here. That's the appearance. But then on this side, you got TJ Guy and Derek Moore. You put Derek Moore on a guard, that's a mismatch, and you got to have a win, and that's what happens here. They actually end up dropping Jayshawn out, and they just run. Actually, Rayshawn Benny is your edge rusher on this side. You would think, well, that's not going to work. Now all of a sudden, it's one-on-one, and Derek Moore is able to bat that ball down. That is a huge. That's what Jayshawn allows Wink to be able to do, using him in a lot of ways.
But as the game went on, it was Mateer making plays. He wasn't exactly 1999 Donovan McNabb for Syracuse against this Michigan defense, but I came away very impressed.
You really had to bring that up, didn't you? No, he was so effective, and it wasn't 30-yard runs. It was simply, if they needed 3 yards, quarterback keeper, he picked up 3.5. If they needed 8 on a pass, he would scramble and they would pick up 9. It was just that frustrating.
And they couldn't get him to the ground. When the pass rush was there, a couple of occasions he broke out, was able to make some plays and keep drives alive. Let's go to Jansen Vision again. This is a 3rd and 10 play with the Wolverines trailing 21-13.
Yeah, and this one I just want to show you, just like the number count offensively with the overload on the offensive line. Now all of a sudden you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys at the line of scrimmage. Well, you only got 5 offensive linemen, plus you also have a guy over here that may become a Cam Brandt. They lined him up over on this side. Now all of a sudden, as soon as this play goes, you've got 1 tackle that's coming out here. You add in Ernest Hausman, and somebody's going to come on block. The rule for a tackle should be most dangerous man. So he should come in here. It doesn't happen. And when that happens, all of a sudden, hey, there's Cam Brandt chasing down the quarterback. But again, it's an incompletion, but he still got the ball off.
Okay, so last drive by Oklahoma, they took over with 10-11 to go in the ball game. They killed 8 minutes and 23 seconds, 15 plays, 77 yards, and they just made plays. They made plays on 3rd downs. Michigan had a costly penalty involved in there, and it was a slow bleed at the end of the game.
It
This was
was
painful.
And the most painful was the face mask call that gave them a first down. You were hoping just to save some time on the clock at that point because they were already in field goal range. But that's the one thing I was maybe most surprised about with this defense, and I've talked about it. When you have 4 edge rushers, you have 6 defensive tackles, 5 of them were up for this game. You're rotating those guys through. You would think at that time of the game you would be more fresh than the offensive line, and it just didn't happen.
All right, one other thing I want to bring up here. Michigan special teams were the more buttoned up of the 2 special teams. When you talk about an elite punt that checks up inside the 5, you had a fumbled punt from Oklahoma that kept Michigan alive. You had a fumbled kickoff that gave Oklahoma terrible field position. I thought Michigan special teams outplayed Oklahoma's special teams in spite of the missed field goal.
Yeah, and that one that checked up, I mean, I almost put it as a Jansen vision because JoJo did a great job of getting down there, Joe Taylor, and positioning himself at the goal line so that he could try and bat it back inside. It checked up and, died at the 6, but the special teams, it was a weapon for Michigan today.
All right, we'll hear from the head coach of the Wolverines, Sharon Moore, next here on Inside Michigan Football.
I feel like we beat ourselves with penalties and, just not executing certain calls. So when I really look at this game, I just feel like we just defeated ourselves.
We really not in the finger pointing business, to be honest with you. Like, it's really not on one person. So it's like, Bryce, he mad that we lost, but it's not one thing he did, or it's not one thing I did, or our line or our running backs did. It's just all a collective thing. And one thing I just always, I kept telling my teammates today was just, breathe, just settle down. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna be okay. Just breathe, settle down. This tough loss is something good for us. Like, we a real good team, but like we talk about all the time, like if we don't come like with our A game and we don't come like with the best detail every single day, then we can get beat. So once we do what we gotta do, we gonna be fine. That's what I believe.
Our conversation with the coach is brought to you by Meyer.
Coach, tough game, and it felt like the offense really never found its footing. What did you see offensively?
Yeah, we just never really got a rhythm. Had one big play in the run game, and I thought early on in the game, you could see us run the ball. We never got a rhythm. We never got Bryce in a rhythm, and they played really well. They pressured us well, and we just didn't execute to the best of our abilities. A
couple of guys went down, Zeke Berry and Giovanni El-Hadi. Is there any update on those guys?
Yeah, both of them we'll see. Gio didn't come back in the game. Zeke was running around, so we'll see as the week progresses.
How do you think Nathan Afobe, as he went in there, how did he perform?
Yeah, it seemed well. You got to watch the film and see what he did, but it didn't stand out. Didn't look like there was a lot of pressure just coming from his side or issues that were happening to him. But we got to watch the film and evaluate it.
It felt like the story of the game was third downs.
Yeah.
Defensively, 9 of 17. Couldn't get off the field. Offensively, 3 of 13.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's a big piece. It was that and time of possession. Those were big key points for us, and they executed on the majority of their third downs, 9 of 17, and we didn't. And we got to do a better job of playing it and getting it right.
Second drive, you guys end up in a position where we thought maybe it would be Dom Zavada range. What goes into a decision whether to kick it at that time or whether to punt?
Yeah, just based on where we're on the kick line, and I always err on the side of going to our special team coaches and asking what the kick line is and seeing where there is. So they felt like it was knocked back a little bit, so we punted it.
Your thoughts on Bryce Underwood?
Yeah, I mean we've a lot of lessons to learn, right? And as a staff, we gotta help him as well and do things to put him in a great position. And he's a freshman, like we said. We knew there would be bumps in the road at some point, and but not going to give up on the kid. And he's just got to keep working to get better.
What happened at halftime? Because it felt like, hey, you guys came out, Justice Haynes, one play, 75 yards, and then defense 3 and out. What was some of the changes that you guys made at halftime?
We had some, plays that we hadn't run in the first half on offense that we did, and I think Wayne just did a really good job of adjusting, in the second half and held them really well. And, offensively, we sputtered and we didn't get the rhythm we needed to.
Jay Sean came back in the second half, and it really felt like it opened things up for Wink.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible player, and I thought Wink did a really good job, figuring out how to mess with the offense. And Jay Sean just says he's an impact player whenever he's in the game.
John Mateer, their quarterback, I mean, he's a competitor, and a tremendous athlete. What did you see from his performance?
Yeah, you saw what you saw on film. Just making plays outside the pocket, a very tough kid, tough runner. So kudos to him and how he performed for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Time for our Al Steele Man of the Week, and this week it is Michigan running back Justice Haynes. 75-yard touchdown run highlighted the night, 19 carries, 125 yards, now 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks for Michigan. For more on the Wolverines, we go inside the locker room at Ed Kongerski. Ed?
This one felt like an uphill battle from the start, a mountain the Wolverines couldn't quite climb. On the road, mounting injuries, they faced a ton of adversity, coming up just short in one of college football's most hostile environments.
We played hard. We just got to execute better. I think we played tough. I saw a lot of resilience in the team. We just got to execute the plays better that the coaches call. So we got to be better. We're going to watch the film and just grow from there. But that's all we can do. Control the controllables now, and we'll be fine.
We all fought hard, you know what I'm saying? But, it's just a few things we got to clean up, as any game, But I just feel like my team, we still went out there and fought hard, even with the outcome, you know what I'm saying? So I'm proud of my guys, man, and, we gonna be good.
We struggled. Now we got to learn from it, I feel like there's always something big that we take away from the game, and that's probably going to be one of the biggest things I feel like.
Did you sense the guys start pressing when you didn't get the result you were getting and you got all 80-some thousand people against you? Did you sense the guys getting frustrated at all?
Nah, it was straight, like everybody was still locked in and stuff like that. I feel like frustration comes with it, because what you expect out of yourself. And yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm down, we're going to lose, nothing like that. It's like, all right, come on, let's lock in.
How does a team go about bouncing back from this and get it rolling the right direction again?
Yeah, there's a different feel in the locker room. This is a real hunger, a real drive. Those guys in that locker room are ready. You can tell they want to get back in that plane, watch the film, and get back to work.
If we keep doing what we're doing, man, keep attacking every day like we do and we're going to be just fine, and I do believe it.
Simply just looking yourself in the mirror, seeing what we can do better, going to figure out what you need to do better, watching the film, and growing and improving on that, and we'll do that, and then we'll continue to be fine. We're fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, Sharon Moore has said all through camp how much he loves this team, its energy, its spirit, its fight. All 3 of those will now be tested as the Wolverines face their first bounce-back situation of the season. For Inside Michigan Football, I'm Ed Kongerski.
All right, Eddie, thank you. And John, you've been in this kind of locker room. It's early in the season. What are some of the keys to bouncing back, and what do the leaders need to do?
Well, the leaders need to make sure that they go and they make value with this film. You've got to get into the film room, whether it's with the coaches or just your position group, and find out what wasn't working, what wasn't effective, why wasn't it effective, make those corrections, and make sure throughout the course of practice that you don't gloss over those things when they don't go right in practice. They have to be done right in practice so that they're done right in the games.
Stick with us. Inside Michigan Football continues. Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meijer, presenting sponsor of the 2025 Michigan football season and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Michigan Medicine. There's a difference between an answer and a Michigan answer. To find your Michigan answer, visit michigananswers.com. All right, my first trip to Norman, Oklahoma.
Mine too.
And I got to say, I invite Michigan fans to be everything to be exactly the same inverted next year. I hope Michigan fans are as welcoming to Oklahoma fans as they were to us.
Yep.
Helpful, friendly fans, and then Michigan go out and take care of Oklahoma on the football field next year. Yep. Be classy and beat them.
Invert everything. And it's when you walk down the street here, everyone was very nice, and you ask them, hey, where should we go eat? They'll give you 4 or 5 different recommendations, and they were always the best recommendations. The food here was tremendous. So restaurants in Ann Arbor, step up your game. So when these people from Norman, Oklahoma come to Ann Arbor, they're saying the same thing.
Next week, the Wolverines take on Central Michigan back at the Big House. We'll take a look back at that game right here on Inside Michigan Football. Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meijer, presenting sponsor of the 2025 Michigan football season and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest.